Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a super interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the N.U.M.B Knifeworks N1 Cornerstone with the new pinch lock. Very cool. If you didn't see me take this apart, it's really awesome. Two locking tabs, both have detent balls on both sides. You push in and they move out of the way. They essentially are contacting this little lock face. It's a twin lock face that comes to a peak, and each tab engages underneath the lock face. Very fun, very fidgety, very reliable, very strong. It's just an awesome knife manufactured by Riot. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is one of my favorite knives of 2025. It is exceptional. I'm getting this review out because the release date on his website says late October, early November. So hopefully you guys are seeing this maybe slightly before they release. This will be linked down in the description at Blade HQ so that you guys can check it out and at least pre-order it if that's the state that it's in right now. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to N.U.M.B Knifeworks for sending this in. It has been an absolute joy to carry this knife. Make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. This N1 Cornerstone, 7 1/4 inches. Blade length is 3 inches. Cutting edge is 2.65. So this is right there. If you've been paying attention to a lot of the knives that I've been carrying and enjoying lately, like the top most carried knives, the Spyderco Para 3, in terms of me and my channel, the Spyderco Para 3, the Demco Shark Cub, the AD 20.5, and the Spyderco Sage 6. Like, these have been some absolute favorites of mine to carry, and they are all sort of right there, in that same sort of size area, the size vicinity. So this has a lot of elements that some of those knives have, and so I kind of, it lined, I think people are going to understand why, how that lined up, basically. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the AD10 and my own Excalibur. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So you can see here it's not nearly as big, but it's not a tiny knife and it's not a dainty knife either. Definitely not. These are just a lot bigger. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3, which it is almost identical to in overall length. I think it is. But look at the similarities in blade length, forward choil area, and the primary grip position. Very, very similar. This is an ergonomic profile that I very much love, and it is very similar to like the Sage 6 and even those Demco products that I was talking about. Just absolutely excellent. Very enjoyable. Let's put it up against the Benchmade grip cylinder, in this case the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this guy? Well, it's spectacular. We get to push a button. We get to pinch, actually. There's 2 buttons. We get to pinch it. And because there are detent balls, the release is extremely crispy. I don't know if the 2 detent ball thing is creating a more enjoyable deployment. I'm not sure. But because there are detent balls there, you get that sort of click, feels really good. You can reverse flick it. You can use the thumb flick right there, just the forward flick. You can also use the little front flipper, which works just fine. And pushing those 2 buttons, and by the way, you do have to push both buttons. You can't just push one side or the other side. You have to push both. I love that. I love that. Having 2 on there that have to be pushed means that while you're choking up on it, it's not likely that you're going to accidentally disengage it. In fact, squeezing it as hard as I can, there's still this one that's engaged because I'm putting pressure here, right? If you are left-handed while you're squeezing, as long as you keep your fingers off of this side, squeezing it, it's not going to disengage as long as one of those locking tabs is still on there. But I need to emphasize this. It is possible to squeeze the knife in a way or place your fingers in a way where you're putting pressure on both sides. I don't think it's very likely. It's something you have to be cognizant about, but it's also, the same could be said for any button-operated knife, like any plunge lock knife, any button operated compression lock or button operated top liner lock or whatever. If something has to be pushed on one side of the knife or the other, and squeezing it using the knife, can cause pressure on top of that thing that disengages the lock, well, then it's the same thing. This is just less likely to happen because it has to be applied to both sides. So I like that a lot. The button feels good. There's no stick. You just pinch them in. I kind of keep going back and forth. When I unbox this knife, and I actually just said this when I unboxed the N7 prototype, which I don't know if that's up yet, if that's public yet or not. It might still be scheduled. But I keep going back and forth on these tabs. And when I say back and forth, I mean, are they absolutely perfect or can they be improved? They are fine the way that they are. They absolutely are fine. They are not uncomfortable to pinch. These edges are not sharp. But I think the buttons could be like the top of the button. It could be contoured or sort of domed so that pinching it is slightly more pleasing. It's not bad or wrong the way that they are. I think the buttons, what am I thinking of? The button on, for example, is it the Halo 6 that's like slightly raised? I don't know if it's contoured, but it's textured and then beveled. And it is such a comfortable button to push that it's almost alarming what happens when you push it, right? That's a single action OTF. It kind of lulls you into this false sense of calm before you forget oh yeah, a blade is going to explode at the end. Anyways, I like that button. I like how that's shaped, and this is fine. I think cozying up the buttons a little bit without, because I think probably he doesn't want these buttons to be thicker or wider because they do already stick out just a little bit. But I think it's safe. You've got a little bit of room to kind of play with the shape of that button on future models, and I think making it more rounded or, maybe slightly thicker and beveled at the edges just to make it slightly more comfortable for the finger. I think that might, people might really enjoy that. But I have to emphasize to those of you considering buying this, I am not saying that it is bad. I think it's just fine, and it was very comfortable and easy to manipulate during my time carrying this knife. I very much enjoyed it, right? The action is very, very good. It's very satisfying. I find myself reverse flicking it or using the forward thumb flick. I don't really use the front flipper, but some people really like that, so I think that's fine. But nothing has come undone. No play has developed or anything like that. It's extremely solid and no stick or anything. It's just really great. I find myself playing with it a lot. It's not often anymore. Just after, how long have I been here? And I've collected over 400 knives, right? It's not often that I sit and fidget with a knife. The only time it happens anymore is when it is a newer system like this, and I've not experienced it yet, and I find myself doing it naturally. Walking around the house or, going around town or wherever, if I'm sitting and waiting for something, whatever it is that I'm waiting for, as long as I'm in an appropriate place, if it's out in public, I'll get this knife out and just fidget with it. I won't even realize that I'm doing it, right? Every time I need to actually use it for something, it's really nice to have an opportunity to get it out and, play with it a bit. But sometimes I realize, I'm sitting here playing with this knife. It's awesome. The pinch lock is really, really cool. I really enjoy it. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Really not all that thick. It's about the same. I think it's almost exactly the same. It is worth noting that this is contoured, very subtly contoured. It is not perfectly flat. I wish that I could get that on. I mean, it is the most subtle curvature, but it absolutely is. So anyways, length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a nice compact object without feeling dainty. This is a super easy knife to carry. Very, very enjoyable, very convenient. What are we looking at for materials? We are looking at, in this case, DLC coated S90V. I know some of you guys are trying to look at the serial number right here. It's number 5. But S90V is what we're looking at here. How did they heat treat it? 60 to 62. That's awesome. Very, very cool. This is a cutting monster. It will not be super fun to resharpen, but far from impossible. S90V at 60 to 62 has absolutely ridiculous edge retention. Very, very good. S90V is a stainless steel, not quite as stainless as something like M390, and certainly nowhere near MagnaCut. So having a DLC coating on it does improve the corrosion resistance, but it is not required. Just kind of have to pay attention to, where you're using it, what it's using it for. But it is considered a stainless steel. So we have S90V, in this case, DLC coated, and then we have DLC coated titanium for the frame. We have a titanium backspacer and a titanium pocket clip that I believe have also been DLC coated in this case, but you can get it non-DLC if you want to. Let's go ahead and weigh it. I don't think it's going to come in too heavy. There is some milling for weight reduction here. Let's change that to pounds and ounces. I'm going to guess this weighs shy of 4. Perhaps if it is 4, it's only slightly at 4. Yeah, it's right at 4 ounces. Not bad at all. Not a perfect blade length to weight ratio. Your balance is back from the pivot, but still right there where that primary index finger position is. The knife feels very, very good in hand. The weight is slightly back here, just like you saw, but extremely good in hand and not a heavy object, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness here real quick while I've got the calipers within eyesight. Blade stock thickness on this guy, 116 thousandths. Pretty darn thin. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The body screws are T8, but I think because I did take this apart, and you can go and watch the unboxing where I took it apart and kind of showed you the inside of it there. Whoops, I can't get that back in there. I believe the pivot is actually a T10. Yes, it is. So T10 for the pivot. That's awesome. The button screws are T6. It looks like if you watch that video where I took it apart, it looks like, there's a lot of little tiny pieces to keep track of, and it would be kind of there are a lot of pieces, but it really is not complicated at all to take apart. And the way it goes back together, really great, really solid. I'm not really worried about losing anything on this knife as long as you have a good, space to do this type of thing. But really, the construction of it is pretty simple. It's not complicated. And there's no reason to be intimidated about taking this knife apart. It's very, very friendly, and I like that. It's really cool. Very easy to put back together, even without just if I had the pieces just sort of laid out, I think it would be very easy for most people to just figure out how to put it back together. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Okay, meat and potatoes time. Ergonomic Dream, absolutely wonderful. I love this. I love the little harpoon notch. I find myself kind of wanting jimping back here, but I also like that I never found a reason to hold it this way, but I like that I can. Right now, I did find reasons to hold it like this. This is something that I do a lot. Draw cuts, having my finger here or up here, but having my finger here and being able to not only control the edge really, really well. It's like this little curvature it's sort of curved inward, right? And it's just a perfect little spot for my index finger, and it's very cozy. Not that knives that don't have that are bad, but I just really enjoyed that. On top of that, the edge is pretty darn thin, and cutting things was a joy. Really, it's not like a brand new profile. It's a size and an ergonomic profile and blade profile that just work really well together. It feels like a super utilitarian, everyday carry pocket knife. That's exactly what it is, with a bonus of having a locking system that is not only different, but super strong and reliable and fidgety. It's just fun. It's nice when we can get fidget factor for those of us who want it, and strength and reliability in a locking system. It's spectacular. And best of all, it is a truly ambidextrous locking system. It's exactly the same experience for left-handed people. You just take the pocket clip and flip it over to the other side. That's awesome. These types of locks are so good, whether it's on the spine or actuation is on, the side. This is the only one, I guess you could say the axis lock or crossbar lock, is ambidextrous and can be accessed from either side, right? But again, it does have to be pinched. Both have to be pinched at the same time. Pretty cool. How strong do I think this locking system is? I don't know. I mean, it's just these two tabs that slip underneath the lock face. So I think I've mentioned either in this video or in the unboxing for the N7 prototype I don't think that this is a locking system that rivals the strength of the Triad lock. Far from it. But I think I might put it up against, like a lot of liner locks and frame locks and say, it might be stronger. It doesn't engage the same way, though. It's 2 tabs that come in, right? Whereas like a frame lock, there we go. I mean, it's this whole bar, right? It's the relief cut here. Tension is pushing it underneath the blade, right? So I don't know exactly how much force, if it is stronger, how much more force would be required to disengage those locks, right? I almost feel like it would be a situation where it might, like, something would break. I mean, you could say it's the same thing for a liner lock or frame lock. But it doesn't matter. The normal amount of force that would be applied to this knife, right, from any direction, is not going to be enough to disengage it. If you are using this knife like a responsible human being, and not trying to smash rocks into smaller rocks with it, then it's not going to disengage, right? I always say a couple of... I'm doing that a lot harder than I normally do. That's all that I require, right? If you think that this knife needs to be run over by a train to test the lock, then you go watch a channel where they do that, right? I think that's stupid and doesn't prove anything. When I did that on the unboxing, there was one guy who was like, "That's all you're going to do to test it?" And I was like, well, yeah, because when I use a pocket knife, I don't go pry up bomb shelters with my knife. I don't do that. I use a pocket knife like a pocket knife, and then if I need to do something like that, then I use a different tool, like a pry bar, right, or a screwdriver or a hammer. That's why those tools exist. I use my knife like a knife. I don't plan to impact the spine of it that hard, but just to demonstrate how well the lock holds up in a situation where something would impact the spine, right? That happens probably on accident, and you would probably immediately change the behavior that led up to that so that it doesn't happen again. But if it does happen, well, there you go. The lock can stay in place. That's good enough for me. It's not good enough for some people. Some people, for whatever reason, need to have 1,000 pounds hung off the back of the blade so that, they can see that the knife is still locking out and not disengaging, right? I don't know what they plan to use it for, but if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to get that here. This knife, in my opinion, the locking system is more than strong enough. It holds up for standard EDC stuff, right? If you need more, get a fixed blade or a cold steel triad lock, or probably realistically what you need again is a pry bar. But this locking system will hold up plenty well for reasonable, responsible knife users. It also never developed any stick or anything like that. I really, really like that. It's news. I don't know how long it's been in development, but they did a really, really good job with it. It's just so fun to do that over and over again. Ergonomically, extremely comfortable. Pocket clip is a bit long. Kind of want it not as long. It's also pretty stiff, but that never really was a problem. I mean, honestly, in and out of the pocket, it's just kind of tight. I had to push it a little bit. Not bad, though. And even riding on the texturing, which it is textured, it's very pleasant texturing. It's a very pleasant texturing. That's how that came out of my... mouth. But ergonomically, no, it's not a hot spot. I can feel that it's there, right? It's just a little bit long and a little bit tight. I would say on future models, maybe back that off a little bit. The tension needs to be lightened up and maybe a little bit shorter. I kind of like it to sit halfway of the total length of the scale, right? Halfway or less. But anyways, blade is I'm going to call it kind of a sheep's footy blade. Flat carries out to about 90%. The length looks good. There's not really much to say there. I'll let you guys take a look at the plunge grind. It's just a very, very utilitarian blade profile. I kind of like the matte DLC. I also wonder how good it would look with the satin DLC. Riyadh is capable of some very, very nice high polished DLC. I have a T1000 V2 that is a high polished sort of a stonewash reflective DLC, and if that polish is something that's available, then I think it would be really cool if future models had that, but that's a preference, right? It looks really good the way that it is. Very, very clean. Love the texturing. Backspacer, very simple, very clean. Pocket clip, same thing. Two little dots there for, I don't know why they're there, maybe to catch your finger as you pull. I'm not sure. It doesn't hurt anything. It looks fine. Not really anything else to say there. The lockout, like I said, is extremely secure. The stop pin is actually attached to the blade and it's internal. So you have a pin on each side, right? Contacting the titanium, and then you have 2 tabs locking under 2 individual lock surfaces. More than enough for the standard parameters of use for a pocket knife. Now, if you dig trenches with your pocket knife for some reason, you're just avoiding shovels, you hate shovels, shovels murdered your grandparents or something, then, and you have to use knives to dig all of your trenches to dig a moat around your house, well, then I would not recommend this because it won't hold up for that. I'm joking. I've yet to hear a solid argument for using a pocket knife as a multi-tool. I have yet to hear a good solid argument, especially considering multi-tools exist and in many cases are not very expensive. So yeah, as long as you're using your knife as a knife and cutting things with it, right? I understand in some cases you kind of are in a pinch and have to use a knife to do a little bit of a pry cut or a little bit of a scraping task, or the thing fell in the crevice and I got to use the knife to get it back out. I understand situations like that occur, right? I think this will be fine for that. No hint of blade play up, down, left, or right. Absolutely solid lockup. No pivot lash. Incredibly smooth and consistent. I would expect no less from Riot. Click into the closed position and perfectly centered. Absolutely perfect with no detail lash. This is a spectacular knife. Very, very good. Would love to see a slightly contoured and more comfy button with some beveled edges in the future. I think that would be comfy. A little texturing on the, like maybe a little bit of like soft knurling on the button itself. But the knife is just great the way that it is. How much is it? What's the damage? Well, $350 for the standard version that's not coated. The DLC version, it's $360. That's pretty pricey. I know what I expect, at each sort of tier. Once we get up to $200, $200 to $300, there are certain things that I expect to see at those price points. Once you get up to $300, it really has to be something special. So the base version of this knife, right, is non-DLC. But for $10 more, getting it DLC coated, right, pick it. I would go DLC, right? S90V, that's a great steal. Just because we see S90V in the in the $200 territory doesn't mean that all knives with S90V have to be there. No, S90V is an incredible knife steal. You'll see it on custom knives that cost thousands of dollars, right? It is an extremely premium steel. So it's definitely the right steel for a knife that you're charging that much. The entire thing is titanium. It is contoured. It is textured, right? They've also heat treated it higher than what we typically see. S90V 60 to 62. It's beast mode, right? It's got everything. It just still feels slightly high. The lock is really cool. I'm not sure if the locking system itself is complicated enough that it adds that much more cost to the knife. I'm not upset with the price tag. I just internally, I feel like the knife probably could have cost more like $300, right? Or maybe $320, $325, something like that. So I guess it feels slightly high. It's hard for me to specifically identify why I think that. It's an exceptional knife, right? I think that at the end of the day, if I was looking at this and looking at the price tag, if I got a chance to carry and use it, and I had to consider, like, do I want to pay that much? I think that I would have a slight reservation. But the price is kind of up there, but okay. I mean, I'm gonna pay for it. I want it. Like that's what's gonna happen. It is not absurdly overpriced. I think it's slightly overpriced, but the knife is so good, especially after experiencing it and handling it, using it. It's so good that I'd just be like, well, whatever, So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and say recommendable. In fact, this is one of my favorite knives. It's going to go on my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go on my favorite knives of all time playlist. I love the profile. It was such a joy to carry and use. I love the materials. I love the locking system. If this was a paper and I was grading it, I think I'd give it like a 98%. It's really, really great. I just have so little to complain about here. Such a joy. Awesome lock, awesome knife. And the gentleman behind N.U.M. Knifeworks is also just an absolutely pleasant human being. Just a really nice guy. So yeah, highly recommendable. Pick this up. I have a feeling these would sell out. These would be like don't come back and say these sold out because of you, because you did. Don't do that. They would sell out either way. This is a system that I think everybody, could come to this conclusion on their own that this is awesome, right? So late October, early November release. I'll have it linked on Blade HQ. If you have the option to pre-order it, I would go ahead and do that because I think these will be gone instantly. That's my prediction. But easy to predict it. You're reviewing it, right? And thousands of people are going to watch. So I'm sure that I have a little bit to do with it. I think once a certain knife is just really, really good, right? People figured out whether a knife reviewer shows it or not. Like, people just figure it out, right? So I think this would be popular with or without my help, but excellent knife. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.